All right, thanks everybody for attending day 8, training day for the liaisons. We have a little snap fill in information that we're working on. I want everybody to, maybe this will, I don't know, Kathy, if we can actually capture this particular slide. I want to leave it up in case you have an option to do that with through YouTube. But I'm going to
Okay.
try to have this particular slide and the dates, the day, and the points so that people can see from it after the fact, of course, but on the replays. Okay. I don't know how you're able to capture that. Of course, I don't know YouTube very well, but when you go through
I
the
got it.
slides, yeah. So hopefully, but yeah, the 4 points we're going to talk about today, we're going to go. I'll drop the slide after we go through here, but mainly 4 points, and these are developments that have taken place over many weeks and some just in a few days. So going back to the point that a lot of things happen and transpire in a very quick manner, and then we struggle to try to put those things together for everybody. So I do appreciate everybody's patience and rolling with the changes that we roll with as well. But emergency preparedness, I'm going to go through that. We have, especially with the North Carolina Assembly in mind, we're going to go over an outline that all liaisons can provide, even to their own assembly, and even whether you've had um, emergency situation on your state in the past, if you historically, if you're aware but we're not in participation of things, earthquakes 20 years ago, or something that had happened on your state fairly recently but not in your location, those kinds of things. And of course, things that have happened in your immediate location, such as North Carolina and the folks, North Carolinians, assembly members, those immediate vicinity situations, we have an outline to provide for you, and then for you to share with your assembly at your convenience. If Luis is able to come in, we'll talk also about International Assembly outreach updates, if she has any, and of course those things. She touched base with everybody during day 7, so if there's anybody that has anything, any questions, or that they've gathered from their assembly, if you provided or attempted to provide a presentation for your assembly, or if you have questions. The material was provided by Kathy via email, so I know everybody has the material, so that's good. And then State Guard versus Army National Guard. I want to touch on this because of the details in the American states, the differences between a state border defense, which is a state guard, and then the state of state equivalent Army National Guard. What the differences are there. We'll go through that fairly quickly. And then we'll also have an opportunity to go over uh, the material that Boyd is working on, what he's providing for everyone uh, as liaisons, ahead of what can be provided or will be offered to law enforcement in the very near future, as far as training modules, training material, scheduled training, how those things are presented to law enforcement across the board, the conduits that are used. We'll go through all of those things too. Right. Any questions? Okay. I'm gonna stop screen sharing for the moment. Thanks to everybody. Hi, Kathy. I see you
Hey.
now. Um, I'm going to ask Kathy a few questions, and I'm going to kind of exercise. Everybody can listen in. We kind of we we settle in with the various areas that we have where we go. All of the information that we share, it's pretty vast. And at least my method is as an organizational complex. As things grow and not bloated, but just enough. Definitely not too much, but just enough, and a little more perhaps with the expectation of healthy growth. We have various areas of where we share information. So I'm going to go back to my screen share now that I can see everybody. And I'm going to go through some of the locations. of where we're found. Again, this is discussed several times since training had begun, but I want to remind, and we have new folks coming in too, so it's a really great opportunity to show our complexity, to show where we are. So if you can see on your screen here, we do hope and expect that the liaisons not only become familiar with their own state assembly website presence and all of the, everything that's offered through their state assembly. If you don't, of course, that's something that you can advocate to your assembly as a liaison, having an assembly site built, to what degree, all of these things. And then we, as far as our complex, our outreach ourselves, our exposure, we kind of express that ourselves, the need. So we have a main website, PKTF News. We also advocate uh, journalism, freelance journalism. That's where's that? That would be here. We'll get to that in a moment, and I'll be brief because there's quite a few conduits here. But we have two combinations between a main site, information site, and magazine site, and then we have a blog where people can interact, can put articles out more quickly because of the user friendly, more user friendly interface that Blogger offers. Then we have our meeting spaces where our directors where we meet. So if you would like to be that proverbial fly on the wall and see what directors talk about, you can go here and you can even comment. I'm not going to go to each site, just so you know, just so you can see where they're at. Then we have an opportunity to collaborate and build relationships with other professionals outside of the assembly, in and outside of the assembly. So you have our LinkedIn presence. Here's with regards to radios, and this will be updated for those who are here particularly interested in the radio communication. I will go here for just a moment to show you so you can see where they are now, for those who can see the screen. I'm not familiar with this application, but I know it's a kind of a side application like Telegram, I think. But you can reach out to our American distributor here. And then we are working on improving the landing site, which allows people who are interested in receiving the devices that we have and the training network that is associated with that. We're building that in which will replace this WhatsApp, and we'll go into. Did my screen change back to where it was?
Yeah, it's at the link tree.
It went back to the link tree.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So there's that, and we'll write articles about this. We do encourage people to, if you can see back to the blogger, to subscribe. Let me take my chances and go into here and see. Can you let me know if it's changed, Kathy?
It changed, yeah.
Okay. So folks can come here and simply, gotta turn this camera off. Can go in here and subscribe. What's beautiful about and convenient about this, as it complements the PKTF news site, you'll get information, you'll get notices in your mail, your email, of when new articles come about, and of course you'll be able to comment. So this is a more expedient way to receive information as opposed to what the news site will be in the future, but is not yet. Okay, and of course you get a chance to comment. Let me see here. So you'll find out more about the radios, things like that. Now, this is what I wanted to ask Kathy. We do have folks that are already, some of you may be on the call now, who's attempted to schedule an interview, a first of 3 interviews for the role of liaison. And that's great. The thing is, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, especially with dealing with all of the things going on in the Southeast still, especially with North Carolina. So we're trying to focus as much time, at least on my end and Kathy's, how we're able to help accommodate where we're able with those impacted states. Nevertheless, people in other areas are eager to get started. So hopefully, if Kathy's available, Luis has already done this. We'll add 2 more, at least. I think Boyd is also working on identifying his available time on his schedule. what'll end up happening is you may have at least two or three, maybe even four, just depends, other opportunities to schedule meetings in the future. But right now, um, at this very moment, we are relying on my particular open schedule after December 7th, um, to schedule meetings. And these are interviews. And these are, 30-minute interviews, meeting interviews, 45 minutes, maybe at the most. And then we're only asking for five. That's the expectation. Three. We're only asking for three interviews. And for those interested on more of the details on how that strategy works, once you reach out and say, I'm ready for my preliminary interview, we'll be able to describe the successor interviews, the second and then to the third, all of how that works. And I'm hoping to write an article about that as well, which will be on the blogger and maybe even on the news site as well. YouTube, of course, is one of the latest innovations to our effort for replays and comments. All of our interviews, all of our training day meetings are here on the YouTube channel. Just thank you, Kathy, for setting that up. And this is where I was getting to here. And even if you're not a,
Are you guys seeing
I'm
his
sorry.
screen? Yeah.
Yeah,
Gosh, it's so strange. So this happened before, Joe. Remember when I was, I'm recording, so you're seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm not seeing your screen. I don't know why that's happening. Can you just go back out and go back in again?
Yep, I'm way ahead of you.
If
Okay.
anybody knows why that happens, let me know, because it happened last time too. My Wi-Fi connection is, okay, now I can see your screen.
Yeah, Kathy, just let me know if it falls out, and then I'll go
Okay.
back in.
Can everybody else see the screen? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I don't know what's going on with me. Maybe I should actually, Joe, maybe I should let you record next time, so.
We'll
All
try
right.
that. And what I'll do is I'll announce when I'm changing the screen, and I'll give it 4 or 5 seconds.
Okay.
And if anybody's not seeing a transition based on my announcement, then just let me know. I'll stop screen and go back in because apparently that works.
Right.
Okay, so where we're at here, this is a nifty little tool as far as utilizing alternative or social media. I myself used to have a Facebook, but I cannot even stand the word itself at this point. Just my opinion is it's a little bit nauseating. Not to say there's anything inherently wrong ultimately with that social media background, but MeWe, just entertaining the idea of perhaps another platform. And it's definitely not overburdened with advertising, and it does offer things that Facebook doesn't offer. It's much more clean to the left and right margins. It's faster. It's got calendars. It's just pretty nifty. And again, you can look me up by name and see my from 2 years ago, and then from 6 years participating, I think, from then. But I haven't been on YouTube or Facebook for quite a while. I don't know what it was. It just seemed too time consuming, and I don't know. But uh, I opted to have material provided here, particularly for our liaisons and anybody else for that. We want to be able to come here so you guys can see what updates, what information we're working on between training days, during administrative leave days, and during other hours of the day on the schedule. You can come here and see that and expect that what's here is for you, particularly for you, ideas, developments that are taking place. Just simply, all you have to do, if you're not familiar with me, or if you don't have the application, it's easy, I'm imagining it's probably easier to get one of these than it is Facebook, maybe. I don't know. Again, 2 years away from that platform. I don't even know what it looks like anymore, honestly. But we're also working on what Boyd and I are working on is access to the databases that are needed and databases that law enforcement are expecting to see information come through. This is what's called NCIC. It's an abbreviation that deals with largely criminal notifications or things leading up to things that goes through that particular database. But we are working on that. There's a breakdown about this through email. Kathy's received it. The Federation has received it as well. But the breakdown of it, where the liaisons are at this time, is getting in the opportunity to have your credential cards, your common access badges, not your credential card, but your common access badges. So you'll come in here, for instance, just yesterday, I was able to provide information about how you can capture a pretty good passport quality photo to go onto your your common access cards. And I'll go to that, show you where that is. I'm changing over to the PKTF news site. You see it?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, let me find out where this is. Okay, our team. So if you go to the About section from the homepage or anywhere, just on the navigation bar, you'll go to as far as our team, which is everybody here in training. Some are already placed, a couple of you guys. So just go to the official credentials and other duty items. And now you'll see what we're working on, which was mentioned on the MeWe just now, is this credential card, this common or access badge. So the details about the need for a quality photo, which is something you can be able to produce at home based on those recommendations. And then here's the actual card as that it looks now. It will most likely have a signature or autograph. Let's just, however you perceive that necessity, but it'll be placed here as well as whichever department you're working in. And it's going to be the management side of peacekeeping task force as it pertains to your state assembly. So you'll have your signature and the signature of the most likely the executive secretary that's placed on here. So this is a controlled item, but we're in the moment right now where we're getting this particular item part of the product discussed, and so that's where you'll see it. I'm losing myself here. Maybe switching back to the MeWe platform. It's kind of a funny name, I know, but it's quick. So that's what I'm most impressed about. It's not bogged down with a lot of information. So here you'll find this. So the short and skinny of it is, folks, if you want to come here and see what's being posted, even though they may be few and far between some of the items, you can come in and become familiar with speaking amongst yourselves, talking about leaving questions. It's a really great opportunity to interact. Any questions with that?
Can I ask you a question, Joe? This is Dolores.
Sure.
So these budgets, the badge, the idea is that as we train as liaison, we will have one of those recognized by you who have given us the training. Is that right?
Well, yes, not only that, but wherever office location you are, or wherever other agency that you travel to, or whoever you meet, they'll see this hanging from either from around your neck or on your lapel. It's just part of,
Yeah.
yes, it's part of your organizational, your access. And then of course it can even be scanned that will show even further into the peacekeeping task force as part of the management. There's going to be an unlisted location on the site that no one can actually navigate to, but it's an extended part of the directory's editorial section. But when you scan that card, it will take those who have scanned that and can see, and another way of confirming that you're actually a part of the organization and who you say you are is who you are.
Fantastic.
Yep. And it'll also help to establish who you are even further as status corrected man or woman. You'll be able to ask not at that moment, but upon further inquiry, if anybody needs to find out if they need more convincing at that point, they can then go to another channel to confirm your credentials even further, just as a simple cursory investigation process.
So for all the countries, the different assemblies outside the United States of America, we are all under the umbrella of this peacekeeping task.
Mhm.
The Federation is, yeah,
Yes. Yep.
great.
Yes. Okay. Am I back on the link tree?
You are, yep.
So just really quick, again, I'll rapid fire through these, but the avocation of the complexities. Here is another area we can go to meet. So this is something that freedom-loving researchers and panelists will go and share their information. This is one, of course, everybody knows Telegram. This was between Rumble and Substack and Locals. These are the three where at least myself and others assemblies that are seated are utilizing these three particular portals right now. You'll notice that Rumble's being used a lot by folks advocating meeting spaces with the Federation. You'll have some people who are learning how to become reporters, local reporters, so they're using Substack. And then Rumble and Locals are combined, they're owned together. So you can crowdsource yourself, and especially with Substack and Locals, you can gain support through those portals. So it's really interesting that way. Of course, we have our for donations, this is a quick application for that. Then we move into areas that are a derivative of the Federation. So Continental Marshals, we have a portal for that. This hasn't been used often to this degree, Getter, but this is another platform. Kind of a sassy platform, if you will, or it's useful, but it's a little bit what's called reticate. You can find a lot of great information here. So if you're willing to navigate through some of the attitudes there. And if you're not familiar with Reddit, it is a unique platform, but it's quite useful, in my opinion. The universal sites for this is something I'll link everybody to. Taking a little bit longer than I wanted to on this, but since we're going through, this is a great work. People are putting a lot of effort into utilizing the link tree, the vertical stacking of links where they can go to share with others. So that's on our site, our link tree. Then moving into directories for, this is something you may find soon as far as the radios on the, let's see if I can click here. I'm going to that directory now. The TASA website is also making some changes, so I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that their directories for businesses, American-owned businesses, remains intact. It has quite a bit of latency. Can you see that now, Kathy?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a great place to go if you know people who have small businesses and they're not gaining enough traction as they would hope for sales and just trade opportunities. You can have them branch out here, which is great. And soon PKTF, which PKTF has, we do have jobs posted on here. It does provide feedback. Contact is successful. People do reach out. But you can post a job or anything here is really great. And this has been up for quite a while. We would like to have our radio communications listed on here, and we soon will. So you go into the classifieds. It's really great. Everybody knows Paul Stramer. And then Gab. So this is I haven't used this very often yet, but I will. And this is where I'm going to place when I do have enough time and am used to cycling through where I share my information. People can find out more about me as an American status corrected. I thought it was kind of unique. And again, everything I'm doing here, folks, you all can do as well. And it's really great to promote yourself and your effort and get yourself known, build that trust level. So pretty interesting, I think. But that's pretty much the complexity. And I wanted to just share with this with everybody and for the recording yet again to show where we are as far as that goes. So without delay, I want to share um, the detail. I'm gonna go right into this. Any questions about any of that? Go ahead, Nicholas.
Nick, go ahead.
Thank you. I do have one question regarding the way the link tree works for all your particular news channels. Could they be under one news main category and then all the links subcategorized underneath them to make it a little neater and easier to find all of those instead of going through the stack? With that, I yield. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick. By the way, I have a little bit of surprise for everybody. Hopefully, Nick joins, builds our wireframing to our service as a site analyst, and that's the kind of question we hope to have somebody bring forward to us. You know, doing their research and helping us to try to more streamline and smooth out the rougher edges of our site exposure. So, Nick, that's a great question. I'll have to get back with you on that.
Okay. All right, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me see if I can. No, I'm tempted to go back, Nick, based on your question to show where that opportunity lies. But it's in our editorial. If you go back to About Us and look at our editorial, you'll see the various places and opportunities that in the future that we have for future team members for the Peacekeeping Task Force outside of the role of liaison. So, but I am going to go through this. North Carolina. We had somebody reach out from North Carolina needing this information or expecting to have a meeting with one of our directorates or a team of our directors to their effort for recovery. So I want to go through this, and I do need a little bit of help for reading. I'll just let you know that this was presented 2 or 3 weeks ago to the Tennessee Assembly in real time. So a lot of this is, especially in the first page here before the introduction, is part of what PKTF offers to each assembly, no matter what position they're in their assembly process, or if they're reassembling, no matter where they are. If you haven't had a peacekeeping orientation kind of a meeting, we are writing articles about that, and it would be your, as liaisons, if it hasn't resonated with you yet, or if you haven't realized it, all of these meetings is something that you relay back to your assembly as if you were doing these meetings yourself. But it's not to say that a live meeting yourself with your assembly is so much better, so much more profound and interactive, obviously, than the replays that we have on YouTube. But yes, anybody of any assembly who has yet had no available participation, let's say, from anybody, can still themselves, everybody can go listen to the replays and build their consideration, their time. They're building up their confidence, as to what's being asked of them. One thing for certain right now, this is something that you can carry back to your assembly and share with them. We even have this printout that you can share and discuss. Most of the material that we have, and you can practice with it to build up your speed for as far as your presentations go. Most of the materials are 2 to 3 pages long. Let me count this one out. This is 2 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. And if you have reader participation, just like we're doing today, you can provide this information in 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. Most meetings people can digest in an hour, even in an hour and a half, which is what we do here, an hour and a half. So it's doable. And especially if knowing that presentations that we provide, that for you to relate back to your assembly as a liaison, 30 to 45 minutes, no problem. Okay, so this is especially for North Carolina, but for everybody. North Carolina, if they were here, or if they are here, or even if they're not, this meeting allows those interested in the material to provide it themselves, so that Kathy or myself, Luis, or even Boyd, we can rely on the effort of folks interested in sharing this information with their assembly to provide this themselves as a liaison in training or liaison seated, any of that. Okay, so the
Karen
following
is here. Joe,
Okay,
Karen
good.
is here. She's
Okay, great.
in the Zoom. She's one from North Carolina.
Okay. Karen?
Yes, Joe.
Hi, Karen. Okay,
Hi, it's nice to see everyone.
great. So let's do this. I'll walk through and Karen, if you're available, I hear you have a little bit of background, but if not, just let me know. I'll have you, myself, and Kathy read this 5-page presentation. Is that okay? Or do you have?
I'll have a lot of background noise, so I'll stay muted. Thanks anyway.
Okay, all right. So maybe Nicholas can help us, and Kathy and myself. So this is something you can provide to your assembly with regards to emergency. The need, as just generally speaking, it just happens to be that from beyond the first page, we're actually have it added in a real-time emphasis based on the emergency and then the impact, the devastation, and the impact of what has happened in the 7 impacted states. But we'll go through, and you can read the fact that a liaison brings emphasis to peacekeeping in general, and it's easy to identify once the entities are known about what peacekeeping, where they are, and no more, no less. So, of course, as a liaison, you'll focus on your assembly militia and the components that they strive towards by providing state border defense. So, as a liaison, this is where you focus. You maintain your focus sharply on the success of your assembly liaison, of your assembly militia. Because as a liaison, as you'll see as second here, at least in this numbering, it helps to verify the benevolent and lawful, peaceful aspirations of your assembly militia. So you're there close by and you're helping to relay like a liaison does back and forth. But if your assembly militia has leadership has questions, that is something that the Federation can assist with. You just simply turn and relay the information back to us here on these calls, especially in your management meetings, which will take the place of these training days. That's the time where you bring back those questions, and you don't have to wait for meetings. You can actually send them questions that you have, inquiries to your office, back to even MeWe. Put it on a platform that anybody can see, and then it finds its way into the fabric of the communication effort. That's why when we get familiar with and see how things maneuver in the communication complexity, and the more you do as a liaison yourself, you'll begin to just, dare I say, as a type of dance or a waltz. You'll find your way conveniently through every other area to where to share information fairly quickly. So, but again, as a liaison, you'll focus on how many county assemblies you have, or counties, and then where the peacekeeping entities should be in the land and sea and soil. So you have your state continental marshals, which is a land and sea on peacekeeper. What is land and sea versus land and soil? These are things we've talked about in previous recordings, so you can find that. State elected marshal at arms, which is a state citizen role. And going back to number 3 is state chief continental marshal is an American state national appointed. Just like the peacekeeping task force, the Continental Marshal Service are again derivatives of the Federation. So these are services owed to your state assembly on behalf of peacekeeping, that when the Federation of States returns it to a state of dormancy, at least these 2 particular derivatives will remain 1 year at a time, of course. So that's the rotation for contracting with those services. State elected marshal at arms, state elected or appointed ombudsman service. All of these are peacekeepers. State and county coordinators, coroners, and then state troopers, which usually deals with the roadside emergency escort and recovery, just like they do today. but with just a little less force as they have today. Okay. So this is what is owed to every assembly. When that assembly has time, and it's usually scheduled by uh, the assembly militia pillar leader, and then they will schedule that with you, the liaison, when you're available. And if you're not, or if a state assembly a member hasn't reached out to us, let's say Delaware, it's one of my favorite go-to assemblies where we don't quite have so much participation. We will schedule that ourselves. We'll reach out to the Delaware Assembly, and as part of Kathy and myself, like Karen with North Carolina needing needing that moment to have peacekeeping outlines presentation shared with them, especially during emergencies. We would reach out to them. So with Karen being here and with this recording, we are delivering exactly the type of information that Karen needs on North Carolina or Delaware or your state. All right, so let's go into the introduction. Can anybody go ahead and read that? And as you read along, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and stop. And if not, we'll continue to go through. And I certainly will kind of pause and reiterate things that are being read, especially if they are written in red here. So. Somebody want to read the
I
first
can
one?
start for you, Joe.
Thank you.
So your introduction is greetings to the whatever assembly it is. We'll say North Carolina Assembly members.
Right, exactly, yes.
Purpose of the briefing. I guess then we're discussing purpose of the briefing. Communication systems test. Recent test of official emergency communication channels. Results and areas for improvement.
Okay. So between
So
1 and
Joe-
2, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I think you're probably going to answer my question. Go ahead.
Yes, so this is an outline, and it's more of an interactive. In the military, it's referred to as an after action review. What this is an introduction to what peacekeeping needs to be on an assembly. Then it moves into responding to an actual event. So this is an after action event or an interim report. But what you expect before any of this is an introduction to what would be needed, what went well, what didn't go so well, regardless of preparedness, and what was absolutely missing. So we have a kind of a roll-on effect report based on, in this case, what happened on the Tennessee Assembly. Now with Karen here, what's going on in the North Carolina Assembly. If Georgia, no matter the impact or the location, this fits for every assembly. So we noticed that the communications is a huge factor, especially early on. So to be able to achieve communications that's durable and can withstand various levels of impacts is absolutely vital for the various types of contacts. In this case, it would be an on search. And then you have having to coordinating successful searches and finds for rescue or rescue in place, which is being able to deliver information and not information, but provisions in place. This is all part of the rescue effort. And then whatever, as far as recovery and cleanup and reaction to those complexities, all of that is hinges on stellar communication, and which is not easy, but that's what we have. So the results, this is what we're talking about now. And again, even without the contact content, this same outline can facilitate no matter what. We just happen to have, in this case, the vital facts on the ground as what has happened. And this was provided for Tennessee with North Carolina in mind and all other higher impacted areas. Okay, emergency response roles, Kathy, or
Okay, emergency response roles. Overview of official emergency management structure, key positions and their responsibilities. Emergency Management Director. State Assembly Militia. All right, did you want to say anything about these now? Or do you want me to
No.
just go through the list?
yeah, go ahead and finish through. We'll pause to see if anybody has any state can notice anything from the first page to the second page, but go ahead, continue, please.
Okay. Number 2, Public Safety Liaison, PKTF Assembly Liaison. Number 3, State Coordinator, Coordination Team according to designated regions. Evacuation Coordinator, Assembly Militia Field Command. Number 5 is Public Information Officer. Could possibly be a group effort between State Ranger, Trooper, and State Chief Continental Marshal. Number 6, Health and Medical Coordinator, State Elected Coroner and County Association staff. And number 7 is Transportation and Infrastructure Leader, State Ranger, Trooper, and local sheriff's deputies.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody see any, at least parallel or on par from the first page as part of the introduction to state assemblies regarding peacekeeping, and then point 3? Does anybody see any parallels between these 7? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Go ahead.
Well, I have seen the parallels. I just had a quick question about the state elected and or appointed ombudsman service.
Mhm.
Is appointed and elected the same thing as we move forward?
This is something
Then-
that,
Yes.
yes, this is something that the assemblies can choose. Of course, there's plenty of flexibility on what the assemblies can do, and that's pretty much, everything. As long as it's lawful
Okay.
and peaceful, yeah, the only thing left in the middle is creativity and opportunity. So
Okay.
long as it's lawful and peaceful. Now,
Okay.
and we left it this way because a lot of things that takes place within the assembly as a role is typically elected, but some of them don't have to be, or maybe fit better as an appointed role.
Okay.
So
All
that's a
right.
great, yeah, great question.
Okay.
And by the way, if the parallel that you've seen, Rave, was the 7 under the emergency roles responses in the
Yeah.
7 here. Yes, so this is a near complete match. The only
Yeah.
variable would be, of course, as you mentioned, the ombudsman service. But when you have a robust communication system, which is in point 2, your assembly will be able to help with communications from family members that are from a less impacted area or from a completely different state. So you'll be able to provide this service to people on your state who are impacted and are cut off or limited back to their family members through the ombudsman service, which is really great. Okay. Point 4.
Is it me again? Come on,
Sure.
people, someone else volunteer.
Yeah.
I'm looking for I'm going to attach this presentation here, so I'm working behind the scenes.
Okay.
I'm happy to read for you, Joe. It's Kimberly.
Okay.
I can really.
Hi, guys. Point number 4, recent emergency response exercise. Point 1, summary of recent drill or actual event response. Second point, lessons learned and best practices identified.
Okay.
Point
Let's-
5.
Well,
ahead.
yeah, go. Well, yeah, hold off for point 5 and 6, but those two go together. So what you're looking at is an outline as an exercise. So this, and as you read and place in the details, whether you have to use your imagination, or in this case with North Carolina and Tennessee and the other states in Florida, this would be an exercise card. These bold points and these numerical Roman numeral points, and then the bullets within, and the numbers subcategorized with those, you have actually a rolling way to prepare for emergencies, as well as those who are in the throes of attempting to recover from emergency. So all of these points, as you examine them and focus on them, ask questions, research them, you'll be able to build basically it's like what's considered a fire drill, where you can, use what you know, integrate what you anticipate, all in part of your drill, and which makes this outline makes more sense. To the Tennessee Assembly, this made absolute perfect sense because their reaction, and if North Carolina was in attendance at that time, all of these finer points titles, points and subpoints all would have made a world of difference, and it would have made so much more sense at that time. But right now, you're kind of seeing it as the outline goes. So point 4 is a summary of the drill or the recovery for Tennessee, North Carolina, yourself in the future, and then the lessons learned based on having utilized these peacekeepers, all 7 of them. So
Joe?
Yes.
Can you put the attachment back up? I'm sorry. I think what happens is when I'm putting something in the chat, I'm attaching something, that's when it seems to go off, which is weird. So I'll take a look at that and see how I can fix it next time, but the screen sharing went away.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. It's back.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll read 5 and 6 with that in mind. So you want to exercise your future planning. The difficulty is when you have no issue that you're aware of and you're novice already, and you have not a significant level of participation. It does seem tedious, but it really isn't. It's just discussing what your plans are, being okay that you're vulnerable to having no experience, but just talking through the situation, planning for the best. As if you've ran a fire drill, if you've ever been a part of one, and if you're a player in it, reacting to other people who are leading it, you see that it works, especially going through the drill. Planning the drill may not be so easy, but I can assure you that it is with practice. So you build off future planning based on every subsequent point. And then, so now we're with closing remarks. Now, if you have like North Carolina, I'm sure we'll have plenty of remarks, plenty of things that they may ask. Well, how can what do all these peacekeepers have to do with the situation right now? That's the difficulty, is because if you are in a situation at the moment, this becomes seemingly too little too late. And yes, that is the truth. However, once these outlines are appreciated for the effectiveness by building drills, investing in your assembly, investing in itself to get ahead of these situations, so that search, rescue in place, recovery, cleanup, all of these things, and reacting quickly all ties together once the assembly, militia commander, and those involved with the militia knows their parts, they prepare and they remain at the ready. And then they also recognize all of the other peacekeepers and their part and their unique part. And then you just simply build drills around those expectations. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Thank you, Joseph. Something I would just like to add in this time during this development stage, like if you have a real world crisis like North Carolina and such, because those of us that are status corrected are militia, your field commander could actually be a man or woman who has the competency and accepts the responsibility to act as that local scene field commander. Okay, it gives you a nucleus by which to coordinate actions in real time while you're still going ahead and going through to establish what's being discussed here today. So with that, I yield.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, incremental preparedness, and if you have the ability to focus locally and build out from there, I don't think there's any other better way, honestly.
And I agree with you. That's the approach I would take, to be honest, Joe.
Good point. Good point. Okay, so again, with closing remarks, remember, this is an outline. This is not our closing remarks. This is an outline that you can share with your assembly. No matter, again, I'm reiterating, but there's a purpose for this because of the recording. Your assembly can glean this themselves, and they can ponder these opportunities themselves, or you can bring this to the assembly and have a conversation. So as far as closing remarks, emphasizing the importance of continued vigilance and preparation. What is the preparation? The drill factor, drilling, even talking through, timing yourself, talking through what is being done, and timing that is similar to actually physically doing it, especially if you slow down and you talk things through as if somebody is. I'm sure people have had drills where someone is narrating, someone doing something in your presence, or somebody themselves is actually narrating and doing. These are hands-on, voice-on illustrations of drills, and this is the way to prepare. So every point that you see here has its purpose. It may be new to many of you here, but this, as liaisons, this you yourself can bring back to your assembly and then exercise this as a presentation and have your assembly digest it. And again, the focus is on the assembly militia leadership. All the assembly gains from this as an opportunity through that pillar or that sub pillar. So it's very vital. And then if your assembly, because I don't want to ask everybody here, but some may be elated to share the fact that they have a pretty healthy, growing assembly militia, and some of you say it's all but void on my assembly. So there's no need for that. I expect any portion of that across the board. But take this back to your general assembly and show them their own potential just by talking through these and focusing on the drill aspect. You can even do this in your own home, right, with your own family. So if that can help, garner some inspiration in yourself with your own family, then we've accomplished a great deal already. Okay, so I want to talk about contact information on the follow-up questions. Contact information is vital because of the fact you're trying to establish and reestablish communication with the people in your home or in your neighborhood, in your assembly, statewide, all of that. Okay, this is the logistics and communication part for emergency response. Does anybody want to read 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, please? It's quite a bit, but thank you.
I'll continue.
Kimberly?
Sure. Yep, no problem. Point 7, coordinating emergency supplies and services. 7.1, role of official emergency management agencies. 7.2, importance of established supply chains and distribution networks. 7.3, coordination between local, state, and federal resources. Point 8, communication systems for logistics. 8.1, use of official emergency communication networks. 8.2, importance of interoperability between agencies. 8.3, leveraging technology for real-time tracking and updates. Point 9, best practices for emergency logistics. 9.1, pre-positioning of supplies in strategic locations. 9B, establishing clear lines of authority and decision-making. And 9C, regular drills and exercises to test systems. Point 10, community involvement and emergency preparedness. 10.1, encouraging individuals and family emergency plans. 10.2, the role of local volunteer organizations in supporting official efforts. And point 10.3, importance of following guidance from authorized emergency managers. This approach focuses on recognized official emergency management structures and avoids potential misinformation. For specific details on emergency response in your area, it is best to consult with local government agencies and authorized emergency management organizations.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Absolutely.
So does anybody have any reluctancies on any part of these points, 7, 8, 9, and 10? And if you'll notice, it is a full-on effort with using communication within the immediate area to the extent of your state and then inward. Does anybody have notice any vulnerabilities with these drill aspects? Nicholas?
I wouldn't necessarily, well, I would call a vulnerability as far as the communications goes. If the cellular network is taken out, you have a limited ham radio operability range. Do we have any satellite communication services that we could purchase that would at least give us SATCOM communications to maintain a communications line? Is anyone?
Well, PKTF isn't, but we are working with that particular scenario. Right now, what we have in the works utilizes mobile repeaters and handheld repeaters, which
Right.
is something new to me. Handheld repeaters, that's something new as a
Yeah.
fairly new technology or something that I'm not familiar with. But,
Okay, I'm not familiar with it either, so I would have to go ahead and learn more about it to see what the overlap of communication range is regarding that. And one other, and this isn't necessarily a vulnerability, but this is something for the approach for the coordinated emergency supplies and services, the importance of established supply chains and distribution networks, which would be the modular multiples approach, whereby if I'm able to go ahead locally, I can take care of wounded, injured, whatever, for 10 people, and then the modular approach, stackable 100, 1,000, and go from there. So with that, I yield.
yeah. Kimberly?
Thank you. In identifying additional, I guess, downfalls or hazards at this point to this, if we aren't having communication, effective communication with the partnering de facto, then we have a big problem. So if all of these were in place, and we could certainly attempt to execute if we were, interfered with from that perspective, or unrecognized from that perspective, I think that is certainly a problem. I will leave that there for just a moment and over on what I believe I had comprehended from talking with Bobby about the repeaters that are more of the mobile nature. I do believe that gap fill to address Nicholas was a 30 to 50 mile range, but that again depended on clear view. So if we were obstructed by trees or mountains or things like that, that's certainly going to weigh into that. But I'll give a clear line. I think we were talking about a 30 to 50 mile range that could be dropped in an automotive circumstance, in a call it a travel van that would be capable of being able to be moved to areas where there are holes. So that's what I think I'm comprehending at the moment with that. Sorry to do two things at once. Thank you.
Something you could also consider for the repeaters, since higher elevation is a necessity, a weather balloon, like we use in the military for artillery piebald balloons that can actually withstand some pressures and height. You attach the repeater to the weather balloon, and then you don't just let it float up. You obviously keep it on a rope, a tether. Okay, that gives you your height capability for your expanded range. So with that, I yield.
Yeah, really great points. And
Very good.
and folks, yes, and folks, I'm struggling to see where everybody else's comprehension is on the call here, but just know that the benefit of these meetings is for you to replay. If you have not enough time, suitable time to rehearse what you see and then share digestible portions to your assembly, then by all means share with folks that you may know in your assembly that can embrace this particular information, and it really helps to build the incentive and the confidence level in some of the folks within your assembly. And again, I'm focusing on the reality that some of the assemblies here, some of the folks here, your assemblies are fledgling, extremely in humble locations where there's nothing. And I don't want to just cause any I don't want to instill that where no one's being encouraged to provide state border defense. But nevertheless, we do have a lot of assemblies, a good significant amount that would say we don't have anything with that. So I'm catering to those folks here now and in the replay. Go through these steps, point people to these replays, and help them help your assembly. And it's a group effort. Synergy is absolutely present in all of these efforts. Okay. The point I wanted to emphasize, something that North Carolina, at least what we're hearing in some alternative media, is the lack of satisfaction between local governments, official emergency management structures, and I'm not referring to the Federal Emergency Management Agency itself, but just the idea of official emergency management structures, governmental agencies. What are they in the future and in the present? The present, we have state agencies and contractors who typically rely on the fact that they are attempting to avoid as much culpability or accountability for loss. This is usually what they'll rely upon, and some can say that is part of the dynamic of why these agencies don't respond so quickly. But it's really difficult when you find out how much funding they have and rehearsals themselves. They should have at least shown their competency to rapidly deploy emergency services and how they have practiced limiting accountability for liability. This is what the general government accountability offices was one of the things that was hired to help shed light on is how these government agencies managing their liability anticipation. So all of that said, it doesn't help the fact that when government agencies or subcontractors come in and then their slow go operations on top of whatever seems nefarious, none of that seems well to do. But even in our own assemblies, we can see the North Carolina Assembly or any other assembly, it feels like an absolute nightmare when trying to establish anything. But our assembly militia, if they get ahead of the necessity of rapid deployment, focus on what they need and nothing else, focusing on the liability aspect, the time aspect, all of these constraints, it is a brilliant dynamic when it's practiced. So, which is the reason to focus on nothing more, nothing less than what should be expected and published as part of your rehearsals. So that's just something I thought was interesting, is the dynamic between state and local government and federal subcontracting assistance. Go ahead, Ravi.
Just to ask a question about those federal de facto contractors, for lack of a better term. Is there anything that the PKTF, any kind of effort put toward to maybe filing lawful action or claims against them or their bonds or their insurance policies? Is there anything going on as far as that's concerned? NIU?
Not from PKTF. PKTF, as it's just as a simple mission statement, we establish logistics and dispatch success across all known jurisdictions. So land, sea, and soil as a dynamic across all 50 states simultaneously. We also offer organizational structure for other foreign state assemblies who operate under land and soil. Any jural processes for holding state of state subcontractors accountable for their losses, or that's nothing that PKTF deals with. We would be more like a GAO, Government Accountability Office. That's it's a great way to emphasize more of a vision statement beyond our mission statement. So we provide that for the American state assemblies. This is something in the future. So we help validate assemblies that are providing their level best with the amount of funds that they have or don't have. That's what we do. I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
So we have one caveat. Does anybody want to read that? It's pretty good.
I'll continue, Joe.
Thank you.
Point 11, real world scenario, multi-state weather emergency response. A, the event. A severe hurricane impacts multiple states along the eastern seaboard. Affected states include Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, and Virginia. B, the official response activation. State emergency management agencies and all affected states activate their emergency operations centers. Progress along this intent reveals significant limitations by outside agencies attempting to commandeer the over effort, assuming overall accountability without legitimate cause or oversight measures in place to validate its purpose and intent. FEMA coordinates federal support and interstate assistance. Reports and actions suggest that this agency has not been welcomed in various regions of the impacted areas due to lack of overall accountability, true purpose, or clear intent. C.
Okay, well, we can stop there just for a moment. So this is,
Sure.
I'll toggle back and forth and we'll pick up in C and D and then we'll do our lessons learned. Just want to show what this is as a caveat. So this is the raw reporting of the outline. I'll go back one more time here. See, you'll see emphasis on the emergency roles. This is the crux of the outline. The fact of what are the emergency response roles. We've identified 7 roles and they do fit within your state assembly. The caveat here would be the extenuated circumstances. Again, the event, the official response, communication and coordination. Again, communication is key. And then what we're left with, which is a kind of a variable. We don't have much information, but the community engagement. We do have information now. This outline is about 3 weeks old, going on 3 weeks. So we do have more content here. This is what you can use as a general breakdown. Every single bullet point and alphanumeric point, Roman numeral point, they fit. You can add, with your reports moving forward, if you maintain this outline, just differentiate what's in the outline in the presentation from black bullets and then your content as red. I hope that made a little bit of sense, but the caveat here is the actual event itself. So it's closer to home. I'll go ahead and read this. Kimberly, thanks. So communication and coordination, we had at that time pinpointed details about what worked well and what didn't work well, what was questionable, and what it still remains to be seen. But so communication and coordination, this was an effort that was difficult for the PKTF at that time to contact all 7 of the state assemblies. We had no direct way of confirming who received the information or the inquiry about the status of anyone from any of the assemblies. So we visited every single site. We had no phone number, no name, who the assembly militia leadership was, how many committees they had actively prepared to deal with anything remotely close to these things. And so we share the lack of the effort and the lack of satisfactory coordination and communication with each of the assemblies. What Kimberly had just read is with regard to the response or the official response. And of course, we know state border defense or state guards are all but absent. Most of these states, even if they do have a state guard versus a National Guard. And then their state of state and federal funded Army National Guards were also at stay, on standby, waiting from Title 32 to Title 10 orders, staged, but then didn't move forward for whatever reason, all but stagnant. And so we were left with only pretty much community engagement. At that time, we anticipated community engagement, but as far as the peacekeeping task force, we had to rely only on what we're able to provide. Not knowing the assembly members, not familiar with who their coordination, who chairs their committees, how far along are their committees, how are their pillars and sub-pillars, where are they? The only way we had to contact these assemblies was through their websites, which is great. I mean, there's a lot of, which we talked about at the very beginning of this meeting, is the fact that liaisons must consider it part of your daily function to become familiar with these websites. Not so much the emails and those who are the champion the other end of an email, but the names of the people in your role, in your assembly, and the roles that they are working on. So if you had any, let me go ahead and pause this. I think everybody has the gist here. I wanted to share with what the Michigan Assembly has. Go ahead, Kimberly, if you can go ahead and finish out D and E, and then I'll go ahead and I'll use your Assembly website as an example of what we're talking about here.
No problem. D, community engagement. Official websites and social media channels provide real-time updates to citizens. Local volunteers through recognized organizations to support relief efforts. E, lessons learned. Post-event analysis identifies areas for improvement in emergency response, and states collaborate on enhancing regional disaster preparedness plans. This scenario focuses on realistic official emergency management procedures without referencing any unofficial or speculative organizations. It's important to remember that the real emergencies, information, and guidance from authorized government sources should always take precedence. End of report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if anybody's a little confused on what we're referring to, one or the other or both, we're actually referring mainly to the state assemblies themselves. We're not really, this outline and red line detail content is not about what the state had provided. It does touch upon that in the caveat to the outline, but it mentions more of the vulnerabilities that the state assemblies themselves have. And this is what liaisons bring to light to their assembly, especially when they're focused on the assembly militia success. That is what the liaisons were created for. PKTF assembly liaisons. The initial liaison concept from the Federation was your state coordinator and still is. But even the state coordinator role is expanding to accommodate the complexities of their entire state General Assembly. So we're meeting your assembly on the other side of your General Assembly. And in my world, that's your entire state, from your state borders inward. Inward, let's just say, envision to where your state General Assembly capital is on whichever county. So that's kind of our focus and our attempt to building to perfect the role of a liaison, period. So, all right, I want to go stop screen share. And I'm going to go back in and go to the time just totally completely slipped away, guys. I'm sorry. That's good, I think. Hope. But I want to share the update to what the Michigan Assembly had provided in light of their proactive stance to items found in this report. I'm really impressed myself with what the Michigan Assembly has been able to illustrate from an assembly that was struggling significantly to, and I don't believe in jinxing, but give credit where credit's due. Michigan Assembly is clicking along really well. Okay, so what they've done with their website rebooting, they've also added in an emergency. Now they've provided the which is we touched upon this last during training 7, didn't we? A little bit. Kathy, Kimberly.
Yeah, I believe so.
I believe it was, I'm not sure if it was 7, but we did touch on this. I'm sorry, I'm lost in what session it was, but very recently.
Yeah. So, well, so then with the outline that I just shared, not only for North Carolina's benefit directly, but everyone else's, this is a result of 32 days of work in response to the Southeast impact. So you as a liaison can glean from this meeting now as you take your notes. You also have access to this replay. And if you would like to then focus on the contingency, just listen to these replays. Simply go in, tighten up your notes, provide this to your assembly militia. If you have that function, or your General Assembly, surely you do have that function, and just share with what you know to be in need of your assembly. And of course, with you becoming familiar with what your state assembly web presence has or does not have, you then have perfect opportunity to pivot into this information and share it with your General Assembly. Whoever's responsible for your IT development can very easily go in and implement this same type of emergency data marker. And then they can, as you see, as you look through yourself, this is coming from the Michigan Assembly. You can see all of what they've added, and this will help get ahead of that rapid, quick reactionary force effort, catering to all levels of catastrophic impact. All of this information and communication is absolutely beyond priority one. Needed. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Thank you. I just wanted to also add, Joe, that we in Michigan are very happy to help any of the other assemblies with cultivating their own form with this. We can't just pick it up and hand it over because of the nature of whatever platform a site would create on. The nature of plugins may be different, but we've got some wonderful IT women here that know their way around pretty well and have offered to try to be helpful to any other assembly that might need to kind of try and pick up and not have to create their own. We're definitely willing to help with that form and helping to get, that over to other assemblies to create their own forms. So just want to make sure that if any of the liaisons here get to that point that you need some help, you're welcome to reach out to us and we'll do our best to try and help facilitate that for your websites as well. So thank you very much and I yield.
Hey, Kimberly, the information that comes in through that site, who does that go to? And how is that then distributed? What's the process that happens?
What we're doing right now is when they fill out the form, it will trigger and it will go to our, it will go to three individuals at this point. We have it going to our Marshal at Arms. We have it going to our state coordinator, and I believe that it is coming to myself, the PKTF liaison. We were contemplating whether or not we wanted our IT to have it come to them just to make sure that there was nothing that was funny glitching in the technology, but that is how we have it currently set up. And I do believe that we are planning on putting some tests through that here in the very near future. So we'll give you some reports on that as we practice. Did I answer you okay, Kathy?
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. I yield.
Nick, go ahead. You have a question?
Well, it's not so much a question, but an add-on. It's something that we could also do is create a militia emergency mobile unit memo that would be able to go ahead and respond to these requests, these emergency responses. It'd be much more effective. With that, I yield.
Good point. Let me ask, as we go, we're winding down. We have the last 11 minutes or so. Of course, respectable to everybody's time here. Alabama, it was, do I recall correctly, Alabama is here? Someone from the Alabama Assembly? Or was that Arkansas?
Arkansas is here. I'm not sure Alabama is. Hang on a second.
Okay.
List.
Is anybody from any of the assemblies that you can see the screen? Are you from any of these assemblies? Oregon, Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Missouri, Mississippi. I know Alabama, Hawaii, West Virginia, Vermont, Rhode Island, or Delaware.
I don't think so.
Okay, so for the replay, folks, we are needing to help build this into the success that it can be. And this is a cumulative effort. If you're from any of these assemblies and you have a website, from those listening to the recording, please let us know what your website is so we can help cultivate that relationship and get you to the point of where Michigan is. All right, so the last things we needed, and again, I've already anticipated the loss of time. We were able to touch on emergency preparedness and completion. Luis wasn't here, so I already.
She's here,
assumed.
Joe.
Oh, okay. Oh,
She can give a quick update. She's here.
okay. Let me stop the screen share then. The only, while Luis, sorry, I didn't know you were here. Luis, I would have afforded more time or tried to adjust. But State Guard versus what that is exactly, and Army National Guard, we'll talk about that next time. We'll talk about point 4, international public notice regarding invocation of American common law. We'll talk all about that in 2 weeks. Go ahead, Luis.
All right, Joe. I just give a quick update on the outreach. I haven't gotten any reports back yet, which I didn't expect to. But liaisons are working on their reports. We are having a think tank meeting on the 13th of November, which I will give a full report there of where we are with phase 1 and phase 2. We are still in the pre-launch phase of phase 1, phase 2. I did that introduction. So you all can, one of the things that the liaisons was going to add in their reporting back to their assemblies was to watch the pre-launch video. So you can see where we are and let us know which assemblies are wanting to participate and if they need some assistance in getting those documents customized and branded to their assemblies. So that's what the liaisons are preparing to report back to us. And then I do also have a strategy task force. We're having our first session on tomorrow, 5 p.m., where we will start on phase 3 of the project, which is very exciting. I'm really excited to get to that part. But we will keep working on phase 1 and 2, trying to get Anna's input and her finalization on those documents so we can get that launched. That's what we're waiting on, to get phase 1 and 2 launched. It's her final approval. Anybody have any questions? All right.
I have,
Well,
Luis. Luis,
go ahead.
I'm not sure how we get in touch with you. This is Dolores and Nigel on Michigan. We would like to help, as you know. Where is the link for the meeting for tomorrow? I know about the 13th, but this one escaped my calendar for some reason, the one tomorrow.
I can put it, can I put it in the chat? I don't know.
You can. I have it. I have the number and the password. I don't have the actual
Oh,
link,
okay.
but I have the number that you can type into Zoom. I can put that in there.
I can put the link in the chat. Dolores, I'll put it in a minute, okay? In the
Okay,
chat.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one, please, Luis.
Yes.
It's in regard to, can either I or somebody else in the short term act as a placeholder for our so far non-response on Victoria State so that we can get somebody up to speed as soon as we can for these projects you're working on? I yield.
I'm not sure understand the question.
Luis,
Mhm.
they're referring to what they can do to maximize the same effort on their foreign state assembly.
Oh, I'm not sure how a foreign state assembly operates. If they can use the phase 1 and 2, Joe, maybe you might have to help me out on this. Could they use the phase 1 and 2 process?
Well, I'd say probably the best thing we can do, Louise, if you have a link of all of the training, the think tank meetings that you've had, they can go through, anybody here can go through, no matter where they are on Earth, can go through and then, meet them where they realize where they can, implement things. Again, I'm not familiar either with what other states can do wherever they are, because we have a different campaign we're running because of the different outreach to our state contractors. So I don't know how, Australia or South Africa may work with their state governments. So that's a good question. We don't know. I don't know. But we can provide them a link. And I would like to put that on our link tree, if you don't mind, Luis. Do you know where that is, where the previous meetings are compiled, shared?
Yeah, so our YouTube channel, and I will put our YouTube channel link in the chat as well. So that would be a good place to start. Maybe just go through our YouTube channel and then watch our think tank presentations, and then maybe give us some input on how your organization works, and we can maybe help to guide how you can utilize some of the information we have right now.
Yeah, that'll work. And I'll put that on our link tree as well. On our
Right.
PKTF link tree. It should already have been there. So it's
Yeah,
good. Great
yeah.
question.
So there you are. I put both the strategy task force session invite is in the chat for tomorrow, and then also the YouTube link to our YouTube channel for the think tank sessions. That's also in the chat. So if you want to go through that and get back with us on, where we can help guide you on that, we can do it that way.
Perfect. And I want to show everybody where the effort is, where time really becomes precious and just slips right through our fingers. But just want everybody to see we're trying to adjust where Luis's effort is found and appreciated the most. But if it's found first on the PKTF news site, we want to show you where it will be. So we're changing under the states. We're changing the outreach to what it should be and what Luis is needing. But we definitely want to build out this section, and you'll be able to go right where just another place where you can dive into what Luis is working on. And it's going to take a while. And so when time slips away, meetings are missed. For those who are here now, have meetings, interviews scheduled soon, or those in thinking to needing to schedule them, please wait till after the first week of December of this year, and we'll get to you then. Hopefully we'll get more availability to schedule other future meetings for other state assemblies, liaisons for their meetings, for their interviews. But right now we are strapped for time. If I can free up my time, I'm going to dive right into this area, Luis, after, well, when I can, but certainly after the first week of December, when we go into admin leave, I should be able to knock this out in 2 weeks. But this is where you can find it under the states tab. States is an active tab, but also a sub tab. It'll be changed to what it needs to be besides affiliate outreach. But now you know where to go to find Luis's work, and your work also will reflect what this page will be. So,
Kimberly, do you have a question? You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, I was having a problem getting it off. Yes, thank you. This actually is feedback for Luis. I've talked with several on Michigan, and all very excited about your work. I mean, just amazing. However, I don't know that we feel that we're ready. And so I just want to be very honest with you that this is something that we're looking at. We're looking at the downline of logistics. We are facing our winter. That does slow us down up here sometimes. And so it is not that we are not interested and enthusiastic about what's going on with this, but I think we are feeling that we're not quite ready. And if we were to have such an exposure of this, we are still looking at how are we going to process the volume that it could trigger for us. We are small, but we're strong, and we are definitely building and gaining and strength and order. But I just want to give you very honest feedback that as much enthusiasm as we have, it is also something that we have a little intrepidness that we're not prepared to actually handle all of it yet. So you have not lost our attention in any way. We're definitely very interested, but I just wanted to be sincere with you that I don't think we can make the mark that you're setting as far as trying to get postcards out right away and so forth. I think it would be too much of a burden for us and could potentially cause us to stumble in a way that we would be ineffective and potentially cause tarnish to the reputation of what we're trying to do. So that's my sincere offer to you with this. Keep going. You still have, as I said, you have our enthusiasm and support, but I just want to let you know sincerely, I don't know that we're 100% ready for this yet, but definitely excited about the opportunity coming. And hopefully in the next number of months, we could be ready. So thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Let me paint a picture of how this how this is how the assemblies can approach this. And it's different. You can approach at different levels. One of the first levels that I don't think I really was clear about is one of the first levels is just notifying your already recorded nationals that we are doing this, and you have a opportunity to open up your GFG account, which they probably didn't know when they first signed up, because we probably didn't have it ready, or they probably not attending the meetings to know what the assemblies are up to right now. So that's one of the first things all the assemblies can do is let the people know that, hey, now we are doing this. Part of what we're doing here, or notifying you with this international notice, is to let you know this is an opportunity for you to have this service if you want it. That's the first thing. Everybody can send out an email. All the assemblies can do that. The next thing, because in the process, that's the first thing all assemblies are asked to do. Do your own first. And then secondly, look into doing your postcard campaign. But some assembly says, we can't afford postcard campaigns, so maybe we're going to do an email campaign. So they may choose to do an email. But other people who may not want to do a postcard because they can't afford it or can't afford email lists, you might want to do a community canvassing campaign. Or you take the postcards and you go put it on, cars or however you want to do your community canvassing campaign. Now, it will cost the money to print out a postcard, but how you do your campaign, you get in your cars and you go out there and campaign, however you want to do it. So that's different levels of where a assembly can start at. So I did incorporate all of that based on feedback like you just gave of what different levels that assemblies were at. So that's how an assembly can fit in anywhere they, fit in where you fit in. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We're going to fit in.
Perfect.
Nick,
Thank
did you
you.
have a question?
Thank you for that, Luis, for the replay as well. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Thank you. Something on a smaller scale that we're actually capable of doing, Luis, and many assemblies may with a little bit of preparation, is you take a seminar approach. You can canvas, as you said, on a small scale, and then you have it to invite to a seminar. And this way you can have multiple speakers from your assembly breaking down the historical chronology, okay? Because you have to give them context. I recently gave a presentation on Thursday, the 24th, about militia and sovereignty, but I had to begin with sovereignty just to get to the 5 minutes of militia. Okay, I mean, it's literally because you can't sit there and walk in the door and say, hey, here's your militia without giving them the backstory of how we arrived at our present condition. But there are smaller scale things that our assemblies are capable of doing. And I think a seminar approach is the best way to communicate this as we're going before we do a mass mailing. And those little thumb drives would be excellent too with additional materials. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Nick. So you just hit on phase 2, actually. The seminar approach is actually the tour. So if you do it by a mass mailing, if you do it by a canvas, if you do it by an email campaign, you first put out your international notice, right? But the next level to that is to set up your meeting, your public meeting where you invite people to come and sit down and talk to your assembly. You introduce your assembly, your officers, you tell them how we got to this predicament we're in. We tell them what our remedies are going to be and everything else to build up to them being able to agree, yeah, I think I need to correct my status, and yeah, give me some more information, and yes, I think I want to join the assembly and help bring this forward. So that's what you'll do at your county tour meeting, your public meeting. That's phase 2.
So definitely attend tomorrow. What great timing to have this primed for the update regarding the outreach, and then to have the meeting tomorrow. So great. And thanks everybody for sticking around a little bit longer. And
Joe, I have a question.
at least we
Yeah.
wanted to get to you sooner. Sorry about that. Sorry about missing you. Go ahead.
So I had an email from Joe in Wisconsin, and he's here, so I wanted to bring this up here. And I was looking to get him an answer. I kind of have a partial answer, but I wanted to get your take on this, Joe. He was asking about if the PKTF can suggest or offer information building an emergency plan for the militia pillar. He's in Wisconsin. I believe that's Area 5, correct? Is that Area 5? And I'm not sure who who's in charge of that area. I was going to get him that, and I don't know. I know you know, so you can tell me, I can pass that along to him. Is there one for Area 5, or is that still?
Are you talking about a liaison for Area 5?
No, Continental Marshall.
Continental Marshall. Sorry. Let me see.
That's okay.
I
But
I can send you, I'll send you a greetings and salutation email that you could send to him. I also send that to Luis. She's probably going to run into folks like that. I actually send
okay,
it all of the liaisons too. Everybody, we're all in modular company. We're all the same. Of course, folks here are new that are
yeah.
in training, but we are all a derivative of each other. And the
Okay, I'll
PKTF,
send that out to everybody and with the recording.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But we don't have a standard emergency plan set up. I was messaging with Kim during this, and I know they're having a meeting that's going through that. And there's, maybe other assemblies that are doing that. Is it worthwhile to combine and do one meeting where there's people represented from different states, or because disasters are kind of
Well,
different,
let's
with different
well, let's
states, just
try
do it?
let's try to see by sharing the information, this outline. Karen saw it from North Carolina, so she sees the impact. Everybody else here went through the majority of 90 minutes with me illustrating that. How about we see what everybody here can do for their own assembly and come back, touch base next meeting that we have, see how that goes. If folks come back and say I wasn't able to get to it, then I don't know. But to have one full meeting about this particular material, we just did it. We really just did it right now tonight, which is what I was hoping for. To answer your question, are you referring to having another meeting like this nationwide?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. We can. We
And
can.
talk, I mean, basically Todd getting questions about emergency services, what's being offered, how it's being, how it's being arranged. Karen put in the chat, the list all of the agencies, the ABC agencies that they'll need to contact. So how do you format that and how do you create that? And, maybe we should standardize it a bit so it's easier across all assemblies, that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely overshadow this meeting. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Well, give us a little bit of time. We can. We'll work towards that. And any suggestions and questions like that helps to provide a more durable content. Go ahead, Nicholas. And we got to wrap it up here.
Yep, I just wanted to quickly add, the best approach when you're trying to go ahead and take decentralized action, but you want to communicate it continental-wide, the best model is the standard model. So that's what you're doing here. You set the standard, that way it can be acted on decentrally in an organized manner. So with that, I yield.
Yeah, sure. We can even go through and provide meetings, presentations on every bold part of our outline that we just went over. Just that one, won't it? Just nail it out, iron it out, nail it down. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Thank you. Forgive me. I'm going to change topic just a moment, just because I feel like it would be important to share with other liaisons. As I had expressed to both you and Kathy this afternoon, we have had an ASM and a GA member that was arrested this in the last 48 hours. And I have been looked at as PKTF liaison and role at the moment, and have asked you all, and I just wanted to offer protection to other liaisons in this situation and for myself. It is something that, as much as I can possibly do, I'm certainly willing to do, but there's also a factor that we're not really ready or enrolled to be able to do that. And I just was hoping that you might be able to very momentarily speak to this, just for protection of everybody at the moment, and or if there is anything that you could offer that we can do. Of course, we want to try to be helpful to this woman, and I just wanted to see if there is anything that you could add additionally. I said that I would speak on behalf of this woman and with regard to our GA, so we could have something to work with if there was anything. So if you could speak to that just momentarily. I know we're over and I'm so sorry about that, but I do feel that I have a responsibility to this woman to ask the question. So thank you, and I yield.
Sure. So let's just take an opportunity to fill it out. We'll fill this situation out. Of course, this has happened in the past with everybody else, regardless of their situation. Never mind their situation. If it's a non-criminal incarceration, now we're affected. If it was a criminal in nature, then no. We haven't anticipated trying to intervene for criminal apprehension, but non-criminal, now we have the opportunity, whereas before we didn't have any kind of intercepting either way. So right now, especially with what the Federation has put forward, now is it a matter of being able to make an effect a introduction for interaction or and interfacing through email and phone or video conference, all three of them, or travel. These are basically the four elements that we have to embrace the opportunity to interface. And now with the common law, American common law invocation is now out there. To what degree is it considered as alongside of, I mean, I don't know what this is. It's just, is it another routine traffic stop, sovereign citizen nonsense, pejorative nonsense, or what is this? Is it?
It's actually quite complicated, and it seems as though it will be complicated because there's history and tentacle to it. So it's not a clean situation. It does
Okay.
not hurt at this point. We have any criminal activity, and they are all victimless crimes. We are still trying to actually get enough contact to actually surmise the situation. So we have had contact with family, and that is about the best I can offer you right now. I certainly could probably ask a few more questions, or if you ask me a few more, I could directly
Okay.
answer.
Well, I do.
I think
do.
Fred and Nicholas may also have information, but I'm not entirely sure. We're
I
still
have.
trying to get a whole on this. So I'll yield to them a moment. Thank you.
Just one moment. That's when I asked the question, maybe that Fred can and Nicholas can maybe help with. But my next question would be it was the fourth and final element of being able to interface. So can anybody within your assembly travel to, I guess this is a jailhouse or a police station? Okay. If you physically can, then now we are in a different in a positive situation, an opportunity. Because of those who are liaisons can now offer an opportunity to interface. Usually what it will be is, can we speak to those who are incarcerated? Typically it has been before, no, unless you're a counselor, or an attorney or a direct family member, no, the answer would be no. Well, now as a liaison, we should be able to have that opportunity afforded to us. If anything, a counselor, anything along those lines. Go ahead, Fred. I'm sorry, unless Kimberly, you want to add to that. I can't hear you, Fred.
Sorry, Fred, we're not hearing you, Fred.
He was unmuted. Now you just muted yourself. Hit that button again.
Check your microphone volume, your input microphone volume, Fred.
Yeah.
Your mic's on, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, Fred.
He's muted.
He's going to go out and come back in, I think. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Okay, so I can add a couple of details to that. I believe it regards a property that she has here in Roseville, which is about 2 miles away from me. My brother Anthony is in contact with her son Thomas. My brother decided to take some initiative, and he actually went to the Macomb County Jail. He served notice to the sheriff through the desk sergeant deputy, who was rather brusque with him. I congratulated my brother on his initiative, but I did tell him, next time take me so I can record what you're doing, but that we needed to actually coordinate this through our state marshal at arms and our litigation committee for an actual rescue plan. Okay. And then of course, contacting the Federation of States, the Continental Marshal Service, other Federation of States assets like the Living Law Firm and such, so that it's a coordinated rescue plan and not piecemeal. So with that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't know how to describe what it is, but through other people's pains, we have an opportunity, but unfortunately we have to then navigate through those inconveniences and pains.
One last thing, if I may, Joe. Linda, through her son, she wants to stay within the Macomb County Jail. She's willing to go ahead and go through the process so that we can assist her through the acronym law in any manner that we can. Okay, so she has expressed that she will remain incarcerated, okay, to go through this process. But I would like, I've asked in a response to Fred's email that he sent out that we do offer aid to her son Thomas as they go through this.
Yeah, I think we're going to add this to our next call again. Thank you, everybody. Raleigh, if you can go ahead and if you want to have the final word on what we're doing here, but we'll be
Okay,
respectful of everybody.
I know that it's a property dispute as far as what's going on. Just a quick question. Has an allodial title been filed on the property? I don't know how they're.
No, that's one of the, see, this is one of the reasons in an email response I gave to Fred, I said, we need an assessment. We need an analysis and assessment before we simply react. We need to know how she was previously entangled, okay, with the service contractors, how she maintains that entanglement despite going ahead with the birthright political status correction before we just overreact or wrongly act, you know?
So what I would say with this is definitely a subcommittee or a joint committee relationship between your assembly militia and your litigation committee within your General Assembly. You have that effort handed to you, bestowed to you, that you can carry an interface with law enforcement, peacekeeper combination as a result of those efforts. Now, liaisons, us, we are not as effective engaging in all of those, unless of course we have the opportunity. I know some folks here are taking on more than one role or an opportunity, but again, it's litigation out of our purview.
I'm actually not speaking as a liaison. I'm speaking from what I know. So when I was saying, I've just asked if an allodial title had been filed on the property, because there's a very fast way to do that without having all the other parts of the Federation and all the other assemblies entangled in it. And I also just wanted to mention a UCC1 lien, because that is what stops them from collecting the money from somebody being imprisoned. And I yield.
All right, thank you, Revi. Yeah, so we can see the dynamic. Again, we're on the receiving end as liaisons, what we know, how we can contribute also as committee support members. All of these things is great, and the effort will speak for itself on the other side. So yes, as liaisons, we carry these in our attaché cases out. We offer that handshake and we offer information. As before, we did not have PKTF liaisons. People who were incarcerated were basically left to fend for themselves unless they hired an attorney, you know. And we could not let that happen any longer. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for the input. Sorry to have another issue happen upon any of your counties, but we'll work towards that and through that.
Can I just say this, Joe?
Sure.
That's what our strategy task force is going to fix for our federation and our state assemblies and our county assemblies and our American state nationals from being harassed. We're going to fix that.
Yeah, yeah. Here, here. All right, thank you. 20 minutes extra.
Thanks, everybody.
It was very valuable. So that's what I call a caveat. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Group effort,
Thanks.
maximum effort.
Good night,
See you next
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, everyone.
Good night.
Night, night.